Hi Algebra 1 students. Welcome to the last math class before our fall break. Today we're going to be reviewing solving equations involving absolute values. So this is a time for us to practice solving equations that have our absolute values. If you are confused or totally lost right now, that's okay. We'll keep at it and you will get better at it. So during this lesson, I'm going to pause the video and give you a chance to try to solve the problem on your own first. If you would like, do this lesson with a classmate. Try and work through the problems first with them. I promise yourself that you will give it your best shot before playing the video and seeing the solution. Persevere. If you're confused still after this video, note what you are confused about so that when we return, we can review the areas that you are still confused about. Sound like a plan? Let's begin. Again, what is the absolute value? So the absolute value represents the distance from 0. So in this case, -1, the distance from -1 to 0 is 1. And the same as the distance from 0 to 1. They're both 1. That is why -1, the absolute value of -1 equals 1. So when we're solving equations that have a variable in the absolute value, we get two solutions. Because x can equal -4 or 4. So there's a positive and a negative solution because the absolute value of -4 is equal to 4. Likewise, the absolute value of 4 is equal to 4. So with this in mind, let's do some practice. So we are asked to evaluate 3 times the absolute value of x is equal to 8. Go ahead and try this on your own first. All right, now that you've tried it on your own, this is how we will begin. So we need to isolate the absolute value on one side of the equation. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to divide both sides by 3. Now I come up with the absolute value of x is equal to 8/3. Now I'm not finished because the x is in the absolute value. We need to split it into positive and negative. So we have x is equal to -8/3 and x is equal to positive 8/3. And again, this is because the absolute value of -8/3 is equal to 8/3. Again, if we are going to graph this absolute value equation, 8/3 is about, our solution set would be -8/3 and 8/3. All right, let's try this problem now. Go ahead and try this on your own first, please. Now that you've tried it, remember we need to isolate the absolute value equation on one side before we can begin. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. And I get the absolute value of 4x is equal to 9. Now I will split this into 2 equations, our negative side and our positive side. So I have 4x is equal to -9 and 4x is equal to positive 9. I will divide by 4 and I get x is equal to -9/4 divided by 4. X is equal to positive 9/4. Again, if I'm going to graph it, 9 over 4 is 2 1/4 and negative 2 1/4. Again, the reason why I have a negative and a positive is because the absolute value of negative 9 over 4 equals 9 over 4. And our solution set would be negative 9 over 4 and 9 over 4. Moving on to our next problem. Go ahead and try this on your own again. Now that you have tried it, let's work it out together. So since this absolute value is isolated already on one side of the equation, we can go ahead and split it into our negative side. So we have negative 1 minus x is equal to negative 7, and our positive side, negative 1 minus x is equal to 7. Now we will solve for x. So I'm going to add x to both sides. Negative 1 is equal to negative 7 plus x. Then I will add 7 to both sides. And I come up with 6 is equal to x. On our positive side here, I'm going to add x. Negative 1 is equal to 7 plus x. Subtract 7. Negative 8 is equal to x. And again, if we were to put that on our number line, we would have negative 8 and 6, which would be out here. And again, our solution set would be negative 8 and 6. I do want to talk again about writing an equation involving an absolute value for the graph. So you should recall you have this in your notes. X minus the midpoint. In this case, our midpoint, if we count, is going to be 1, because it's 3 from both sides. So if we were to write an equation, it's going to be x minus our midpoint, which is 1. It's the absolute value of those is equal to the distance from the midpoint, which we can see is 3. If we count 1, 2, 3. So remember that formula, make sure you have that in your notes. This is practice problem number 52, which you will have one that is assigned similar to it, number 53. So let's work through this together. Write an absolute value equation that represents the recording time. Now we know our equation. In this case, we have x minus our midpoint, which is 1 hour and a half. Now if we turn that into minutes, 1.5 hours is equal to 90 minutes. So minus 90 is equal to plus or minus 3 minutes. So that's A. Write an absolute value equation that represents the recording time. What is the range of time in minutes that the CD could run? Well, we know that the CD could run plus or minus 3 minutes. So we know that it could be 90 minus 3, which is equal to 87, or 90 plus 3, which is equal to 93. So this is for B. So our range would be 87 to 93 minutes. And then graph them on a number line. So again, our number line, I'm going to start here at 85. 90, and 95. So if we're looking for 87, 87 should be somewhere here, and 93 should be somewhere there. So that is how we would graph the possible times. One last question for you. So use the sentence, x is equal to 7 plus or minus 4.6. Describe the values of x that make this sentence true. Okay, well, let's think about that. So x is equal to 7 plus 4.6. X is equal to 11.6, or x is equal to 7 minus 4.6, which means x is equal to 2.4. So our two equations are. Now if we look at B, translate the sentence into an equation involving the absolute value. Now remember our equation. X minus the midpoint, all in absolute values, is equal to the distance from the midpoint. Sorry about my messy writing. So for B, we know we have x. Our midpoint is going to be 7. Let me change these to help you guys out. Is equal to the distance from our midpoint. It's plus or minus 4.6. So our equation is x minus 7 is equal to 4.6. So I hope this helps clarify some of your confusion. If you are confused, go back and watch a few of them. Or I have also put under the helpful links on PowerSchool page day 6, a Khan Academy video that will explain a few more problems to clarify any confusion. Please go to day 6 and refer to the practice problems to complete. Block G, you may have noticed that we have not completed days 4 and 5, those lessons. We will cover those topics when we return after break, so we will cover them in class. Thank you all for listening and have a fantastic fall break. Get some rest, and I will see you in October. Bye for now.